In the last 5 to 10 years, over 40 commercial fusion startups have come online. So really, we've had a number of breakthroughs. I used to say when I took this job, I was used to saying every 2 years, the fusion people would announce some type of breakthrough. Now it feels like it's every 2 weeks. We hear a new record's been set, a new technology's been developed. And it's really captured the interest of the private sector.
Welcome to the Transfer Files, inside the world of federal innovation. This is your insider's look at how federal laboratories bring groundbreaking technologies to market. I'm your host, Andrea Nelson. In every episode, we'll bring you insights and expertise from throughout the world of tech transfer. In this episode of the Transfer Files, we sit down with David Zimmerman, Strategic Partnerships Officer at Princeton Plasma Physics Lab, or PPPL. David's career has taken him from the research bench to startups to patent law, and now to leading industry partnerships at a Department of Energy national lab. We talk about how his diverse experiences, from securing patents to launching companies, help him bridge the gap between scientists, entrepreneurs, and investors. David also shares exciting updates from PPPL, including advances in fusion energy, new commercialization initiatives, and how partnerships with state startups and industry are shaping the future of innovation. If you're curious about the growing fusion energy market, the role of federal labs in building regional innovation ecosystems, or what it takes to bring breakthrough science into the real world, this conversation is for you. Let's jump in. David Zimmerman, thank you so much for being with us.
Absolutely. Very glad to be here.
Let's start with your background. Can you talk about how you got started and what led you into tech transfer?
Love to. So I was a research scientist for about 10 years. And in that time, we were always, as research scientists everywhere, we were always under pressure for funding and always going through the cycles of grants and things like that. And I was very conscious of the fact that there's so much great work that we're doing. We're inventing things. We're coming up with novel solutions to problems. And somehow they don't matter. They don't seem to impact the world, and they don't help us to get more funding to support our research. So I was very frustrated by that. Eventually, I decided that because of my interest and my interest in sort of applying the things that we were doing at the labs I was working in, I decided to leave academia, go join a number of startups and go through sort of a cycle of belonging to the various startups in the software space, one that sort of touched on the hardware space, but generally in software. And through that work, I spent a lot of time. Eventually, I found myself in a position where I was CTO of a company, and I was working on patenting my own inventions and the inventions of the engineers who reported to me. And when that company went through, basically folded, as startups often will, I had an opportunity talking to my patent attorney. He said, "Hey, you're good at the patent stuff. Why don't you come and work for me?" And so I joined that's the time working at a law firm, supporting this guy in working on patents of other people. And then through that work, I was able to find a consultancy where I was working with a group of folks helping Fortune 50 companies from all over the world to grow their patent portfolios, commercialize their portfolios, either through licensing or selling it. So I was doing very patent-focused work and really enjoying it, really loved working with inventors. It was a lot of fun. It was an exciting time. And then that eventually led me, what I usually say is I spent so much time arguing with lawyers about patents and the meaning of different terms in patents that I decided to go to law school at night. And I think the way I usually say it is spent so much time arguing with lawyers that I turned into one and got my law degree, spent a few years practicing patent law, getting experience in those worlds. And then I had an opportunity to come back to academia and join the tech transfer office at a university. spent about 10 years working at universities before I had an opportunity to come all the way back really to the kind of place that I had been working when I was a scientist to join National Lab at Princeton Plasma Physics Lab. And when I'm talking to people about my background or people who are interested in career and tech transfer, I always say, if you have the patience and the opportunity, I've built up a great background for this work because I feel like I can very competently speak to scientists and understand, not just speak to them and understand the science, but also understand their concerns and where they're coming from on things. The experience with startups is invaluable because I can really speak with some authority when I'm talking to a researcher who's interested in starting a company. Here's what my experience was when I was working on it. Here are some suggestions of things you might think about, those sorts of things. And then, of course, the legal background is a key part of tech transfer, and agreements are at the core of certainly everything that I do in my work at PPPL.
Absolutely. Wow, that's amazing that you've had the opportunity to wear all of those hats at a deeper level, because that's been one of the big things that has struck me about tech transfer professionals, that you have to speak all of these languages. And so what better way to learn them, I'm sure. And so tell me more about your current position and what you do at PPPL.
So PPPL is one of the smaller Department of Energy national labs. We've been around for 70 years, so we do have a proud history. But over that 70 years, we've really been focused very close to the science and on building up technology, especially focused on fusion power, which is really coming into its own now. So it's an exciting part of tech transfer at our lab. But historically, we started small and we've been growing slowly. So we have a fairly small team and have really only in the past 5 years or so ramped up a lot of public-private partnerships and engagement with industry. My role is mainly focused on, not so much on the IP side, but on working with industry partners, identifying potential partners, getting them interested, getting them engaged so we can come up with a project we want to do together, and then negotiating the agreement, getting that in place and getting it off the ground. So that's most of my work at the lab. I also have an opportunity to represent the lab in different organizations. This is a small part of my job, but something I really love, and I try to get a lot of value for PPPL out of it. I've recently been elected to the board of the FLC, which I'm very proud of and excited to be able to be even more active in the FLC and trying to identify opportunities for us to partner with either industry partners that we can find through the FLC or other laboratories that might want to work with us. I also have a footprint in the state where I'm on the board of the Research and Development Council of New Jersey. I'm very well connected to the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology. So there are these other groups that are more state or region focused that I have an opportunity to represent the lab on. And it gives me a great opportunity to create touch points for companies that might want to work with the lab.
Can you speak more to, because fusion energy is, I think, a younger, at least a quickly growing area. So talk about where that is now, what kind of growth that you've seen or where you see it going and in your work.
Absolutely. I could talk for a very long time about fusion power. So fusion power is it's a different form of nuclear energy or nuclear power. So it's sort of fundamentally different than fission power, which is what so-called conventional nuclear, all the nuclear power that's generated today is built at fission reactors. Fusion has a lot of advantages that have excited people for decades. It's inherently cleaner. It does not have the challenges of working with plutonium and uranium and enriched fuels and the dangers of weapons proliferation through through running those type of reactors, a lot of the issues that come up with fission power don't come up with fusion power. Having said that, fusion is very, very hard. Our laboratory has been a world leader in developing the use of fusion to create electrical power. And for 70 years, we've been doing that. This moment in time is a fantastic point for me as a tech transfer professional and also for our laboratory, because in the last 5 to 10 years, over 40 commercial fusion startups have come online. So really, we've had a number of breakthroughs. I used to say when I took this job, I was used to saying every 2 years, the fusion people would announce some type of breakthrough. Now it feels like it's every 2 weeks. We hear a new record's been set, a new technology's been developed. And it's really captured the interest of the private sector. And so we have, in addition to the more than 40 fusion startups around the world, there's now $10 billion in private capital that's been invested. So beyond the money that governments are putting in, a lot of investors who are interested in making money believe fusion time is coming. And I think many of us believe that in the 2030s, electrical power is going to be generated from a fusion reactor. And so it's a very exciting time to be working in the field, in a field related to fusion and in tech transfer at our laboratory, and especially to be at the center of these public-private partnerships where our laboratory is taking its expertise built up over decades and helping these fusion companies to succeed in their goals. In addition, at PPPL, I should also say that our lab director came on board about 8 years ago. When he came on, one of his goals was to diversify our research portfolio. So he looked at the expertise that we have and realized that our laboratory collectively has skills that can be applied in other areas beyond just generating electricity fusion reactions, including microelectronics processing, making quantum devices, and industrial decarbonization work. And of course, a big growth area for us is AI. And we have a real focus on taking our computational expertise and moving into AI.
Incredible. These are all
really exciting.
Yeah, all very exciting, quickly changing landscapes and markets. And where does New Jersey sort of sit and the Northeast region in the fusion power market?
Well, we are, I think having PPPL New Jersey gives New Jersey a tremendous presence. Would say the real leader in the United States is Massachusetts, which has a great fusion power company that's coming online. I think they are probably the most well-known and best capitalized Commonwealth Fusion Systems. They're also a partner. We do a lot of work with them. And so our relationship with them and having them close by just in Massachusetts, a short drive away, is great for our laboratory. The state of New Jersey, also because of the presence of PPPL, and we now have several fusion startups coming online, including Thea Energy, which is really doing great, has gotten more involved and gotten interested in helping to identify this as an area of growth for the state and potential for the state. And so that's led to some opportunities for our office in tech transfer PPPL to work with the state and bring online some activities that are, I think, really exciting for the future. In particular, I've worked closely with the state, actually beginning with a feasibility study, looking at what the feasibility study of building a commercial entity just outside the gates of the laboratory that's focused on technologies that are in the laboratory, bringing them to companies that can then move them forward and taking advantage of that very local opportunity where there isn't a lot of travel involved. People can pass back and forth and communicate pretty freely and on a pretty flexible basis. I worked with the state to get support to get a feasibility study done. Following that study, we were able to get a commitment from the state that if we could find a commercial partner, they would match investment by that commercial partner in order to create this entity. And we've gone through that process. We identified a partner, and we're on our way in terms of launching what's called the HAX Plasma Forge. HAX is our commercial partner, and the Plasma Forge is the name of this facility. We've identified, I think we know the first one or two companies that are going to be working at this entity, and we're already actively pushing partnerships with them and building up relationships between our researchers, the engineers of those companies. So it's a very exciting time to be launching that as a new program. And that work and working together with the state led directly to this past summer. We were able to launch a fusion supply chain conference that's looking at identifying the needs of the fusion industry and where there are opportunities for companies and for state governments and nonprofits to work together to help to meet the needs of this growing industry and create economic opportunity. So the state of New Jersey helped to sponsor that conference this year, and it looks like it's ready to go as we're heading for there'll be another second annual edition of that conference, hopefully next year, that's going to take place in DC. So it's been really exciting to have the state as a partner and have them interested in building on the opportunity that the national lab's presence in New Jersey provides to ultimately, from their point of view, they want to create jobs. They want to help to create and attract companies that are going to come and want to be close to PPPL and want to be positioned in the state. And so that type of partnership has been really fruitful for us. We're now looking at what the next step will be and maybe expanding things into more of a regional ecosystem, reaching beyond the state of New Jersey, keeping them as a partner, but bringing in other states in the region to really build something that's going to move the needle and help the state to achieve its mission of creating jobs and growing the economy, and help the lab to achieve its mission of getting technologies that we're developing out into the world where they're impacting people's lives.
Wow. Those are very exciting developments because, like you said, these are very foundational sort of scaffolding pieces that will only grow and become more established. So I can't wait to see how that blossoms. We'll have to have you back for an update.
Love to be back.
So I know there's been a lot of exciting projects and announcements at PPPL. Can you also tell me about the Quantum Diamond Lab?
Quantum Diamond Lab is our newest laboratory at PPPL. That's a facility that came online last year where we are taking advantage of PPPL's expertise in both computational and experimental plasma science to help the diamond industry to grow more efficiently and effectively diamonds that can be used in quantum sensors and in quantum computers. So we were able to leverage the fact that Princeton University, which is the manager of PPPL and runs PPPL, they have a great presence in this space. But because the national lab is in a position to attract federal investment and federal efforts and achieve things that really can't be achieved at the university, we were able to work with the university and the Department of Energy to pull together this new facility. We've attracted a world-class leader in the field to come and run it, and also brought online partnerships with some of the top companies in the world that are growing diamonds. And it's been really exciting to see that take off. The technology is amazing. I could talk about that for a long time as well. But But I think the most interesting thing from a tech transfer perspective is that this is an area of technology where there's a lot of closely held information, a lot of trade secrets that the companies work with. Everyone is very protective of their secret sauce, as they say, about what they do. And so it's been a challenge for us as an open science lab that generally doesn't deal in as much in trade secrets and in information that's kept confidential by companies, to put together a structure where we can get our needs met of continuing to do the best science and leverage their expertise in helping us to do the cutting edge science, but also provide them the protections they need to keep their, maintain their secrets, maintain the value of their companies while we're helping them to improve their techniques and get better technology based on their work. So the Quantum Diamond Lab is really exciting. For me personally, I have something of a connection there because there's a limited number of tour guides who, when we have VIPs come through the tour of the lab, that are available. And I've spent enough time just hanging around the lab that I've now been certified as a tour guide. So I'm very happy that I get an opportunity to, when groups come through, talk to them about our laboratory and the exciting science that lab is doing. Mm-hmm. It also provides a great opportunity because, tech transfer, there's an element of tech transfer, which is selling and identifying, trying to uncover potential new partners and being able to be front and center when tour groups are coming through and have an opportunity to meet people and build relationships, which can sometimes, you never know when the person you speak to is going to be working at a company that may be interested in the technology, or maybe they know someone who we should talk to. I had a great meeting this past week where, just growing out of a friend connection, I had an opportunity to learn about a facility I was totally unaware of in the States that we're now actively looking at partnering with to move our technology forward, working with them.
Wow. And to that, in that same spirit, is there any one thing or a couple of things that you really try or would love for people to know about PPPL and the work that you do, or what they should know if they want to work with you? Anything to that effect?
First of all, we are the Princeton Plasma Physics Lab, and it's really right there in our name that plasma technologies are in use across a wide variety of fields in the world. In microelectronics, we did a study and learned that there are 900 steps in the process of building a microchip that goes in a computer, and 40% of those steps involve the use of a plasma and involve plasma science. That's just one example. Plasmas are used in so many different areas, and we are any applications that involve plasma, because of the expertise of our scientists, we are very happy to get involved and help with any work in those areas. So, everything from, I didn't mention it, it's a little bit of the smaller lab within our system, but Hall thrusters, which are used for satellite propulsion. We have a satellite propulsion lab that uses plasma-based propulsion. We have an invention and a researcher who's working on propulsion systems, not just for satellites, but to move spaceships from Earth to Mars and Earth to other planets using plasma science. So we are really open to any problems that we feel we can help with. And as an open science lab, if it's an interesting problem, I can absolutely find someone at our lab who will be excited to get on board and help with it. So, very much we are open for business. We are looking for partners. We take very seriously our mission to take our scientific expertise and have a positive impact in the world. So anyone out there who hears this and is interested in talking with me, do not hesitate to reach out. Certainly, if I can't help you or if our lab can't help you, then I'm very happy to use my network and try to find other opportunities, see whether there's other opportunities or others in the National Lab Complex, in the Federal Lab Consortium, who can help you with whatever problem you're trying to work on.
Beautiful. And we will be sure to link your LinkedIn page on our episode page, and we'll link to the lab as well. But that you just mentioned something that segues perfectly into my next question, which is you were just elected to be the incoming Northeast Regional Coordinator. So the FLC, the Federal Lab Consortium, has 6 regions across the country. Each region has a regional coordinator and a deputy regional coordinator, just to take advantage of the sorts of place-based ecosystem advantages that you've been talking about. A lot of our guests end up talking about because it's a big piece of the puzzle. So what attracted you to this role?
First of all, I get so much benefit out of the FLC. It's a great organization, experience great training, great networking at meetings, both at national meetings and then attending regional meetings. And I should say I also have been an instructor in FLC classes for the last several years and teaching an IP course. So I feel like I've gotten a lot of great opportunities at the FLC, and I'm very happy to serve, and both to pay back some of the great opportunities that I've gotten from FLC, and also so that I can learn more and better understand what is the organization, what is FLC doing, and what's available through FLC that I may not know about now, and try to get the word out to more and more people. In terms of the regional coordinator role, as you mentioned, I really believe that in place-based innovation and that regional efforts matter. I feel like I was looking at a questionnaire today and seeing a question focused on weighting between national efforts and whether or not, innovation efforts should better be focused nationally or on regional efforts. And I really believe in regional efforts and finding commonality among organizations in a local area where you can get to each other, where you have similar problems, where it's not hard to assemble and pull together. You don't need to get a lot of necessarily travel approval and all that in order to really create a vibrant ecosystem. And then I also feel that within each state, there are efforts, and, I think every state now is doing as innovation programs where they're trying to promote innovation in their state, trying to use to grow the economy. And I think an organization like FLC is really well positioned to reach across state borders and come up with, for different problems, regional solutions that may be able to attract federal dollars, may be able to attract federal support, but will be able to have maximum impact within a particular region. So I'm very excited about the potential for that and the opportunity that FLC presents to reach across different departments. So I work at the Department of Energy laboratory. I would love to be more actively partnering with colleagues in Department of Defense. I mentioned that our lab has a diversity of different technologies, really anything touching on plasma science. And we have a group that's done a lot of work in wound care and wound healing, applying electrical plasmas to promote wound healing. And I'd love to reach out to NIH colleagues, get involved there. Over the years, not recently, but I know we've had connections with people in agriculture. So it's such an exciting time for our lab as we grow our portfolio. And I'm excited that the FLC is going to be able to support us in building bridges across the different departments in the federal system.
Yeah, absolutely. I will plug the last episode that we aired just because our executive director, Paul Zielinski, talked about how the FLC was formed, and it was preceded by agency-specific, basically entities, consortiums that manage tech transfer within the Department of Defense, say, or NASA. But really, the FLC is here to do exactly what you just said, to give an opportunity for people to be in the same room, so to speak, talk across agencies to find those points of connection, even though tech transfer can look very different at different agencies' missions and metrics of success. All those things can really vary.
Absolutely. But we can learn from each other. And I think the lines between the different agencies and the different technologies are important to us because we're part of the federal system and we have each report up to our secretaries and or the heads of our different organizations. But for companies and the companies that we partner with, they don't care about these distinctions so much. They may be doing defense work and want to work within the DoD framework, but have opportunities where they'd be best served also plugging us in. And I think as tech transfer professionals, one of the challenges we need to meet is the silos and the lines that we work within on our side don't necessarily apply to our corporate partners.
Is there anything else that you would like to share or highlight today?
As the incoming regional coordinator for the Northeast region, I hope that some of my friends and colleagues in the Northeast region will listen to this and that they'll reach out. I really want to connect with all the different laboratories and organizations within our Northeast region system and learn more about how the FLC and especially the FLC Northeast region can help them do their jobs and, better achieve their mission. So maybe that's a good note to close on.
That sounds like a perfect note. David Zimmerman, thank you again for your time and all you've shared with us today.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I really appreciate being here in the conversation, and I'll see you at the FLC meeting.
Yes, you will. Thank you, David. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in for this conversation and spreading the word about this podcast. Subscribe and listen to more episodes on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. Check the show notes or the episode page at federallabs.org for links to more resources and information that came up in our conversation. Thanks, as always, to our producer and digital marketing manager, Carly Dunow, graphics manager, Danny Batchelor, web content and systems manager, Jess Klein, and the FLC staff and community for your support. We'll see you back in 2 weeks for Transfer Files Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in to the Transfer Files, your insider's look at federal tech transfer. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay connected for more episodes exploring how hundreds of government laboratories and countless industry partners are driving innovations that shape our lives.